Hey, hey, hey. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
Put it
10.
in front of your mouth there.
One,
There you
two.
go. There you go. Perfect.
I know how to talk into a microphone, fucker.
All right.
Ooh.
The Musers, the podcast, episode 4, The Question.
Welcome to episode 4 of The Musers, the podcast. We are The Musers. I'm Craig.
I'm George.
I'm Gordon.
We have to have an off-air discussion about whether we're going to keep that or not. We're going to each identify
I
ourselves
laugh at
for
it every
eternity.
time.
Or...
I don't know.
That's fine.
Well, for the last 30 years, we've hosted a morning radio show in Dallas on The Ticket, the all-sports station, a.k.a. America's favorite radio station, and now we're trying our hand at podcasting. For those of you who may not be familiar with us, we thought in these first few episodes we would help you get acquainted with our stories by interviewing each other. And for those of you who are familiar with us, we thought maybe these interviews would give you some extra insight into our lives and careers and relationships. So in episode 2, Gordo interviewed me and George about our background. In episode 3, George interviewed Gordon and me about our shared history. And today, I get to interview George and Gordon about their relationship over the years.
Mm,
Bum,
You guys
bum,
ready for this?
bum.
I think so.
Sure.
Because you know I throw fastballs.
Okay. Hit us.
Well, I want to go back to the beginning of your relationship in a bit, but I have to start this episode with the question that over the years, without a doubt, has been asked to me the most by people who listen to our radio show. And that is, does George really hate Gordon that much?
So it's not even a question of does George really hate Gordon? It's just does he hate him that much?
Yes.
Yeah.
My answer to that has always been sometimes. Sometimes I really am mad at him. A lot of it is radio theater, our back and forth, but sometimes I really do disagree with whatever's coming out of his mouth hole. And I try to debate him, which is, you might as well fight a shark. It's the same thing. You can't debate Gordon. He's too good at it and has as a way of making you look pretty bad pretty quickly. But yeah, I don't hate him, of course. We love each other, but we've had our challenges through the years. I think that's safe.
This is all news to me. I didn't know any of this. Yeah. So is the question also posed to me? Does George really hate me that much?
Sure, you can jump in on this.
Yeah.
I never get it the other way. I never get, does Gordon hate George that much?
Yeah.
By the end
I
of this
know.
episode, you will see that I don't hate Gordon, but we will. I think this is. I felt like I was going to be on a couch for this one because early on it was not easy. I will just say that when we started,
Mhm.
it really wasn't. I took things. A lot of it was on me, taking it way too personally. But yeah, I had to. But I'll explain today. There were several times where you showed me what kind of person you were and that the on-air stuff did not stick after that point. But we had to get to that point.
Yes, we did. And our relationship has certainly changed over the years.
Yes.
Early on, yes, you mentioned your whatever culpability that you feel on that, and I can't speak to that. I can
Mhm.
speak to my culpability, which is, yeah, I was not sensitive enough to how the other person was feeling about the radio bits or the bit of, ridiculous sitcom-y type stuff that I'm doing on there, poking the bear,
Yeah.
as it were. And yeah, I did not have enough consideration for human feelings. I think that's what y'all call them on Earth.
Yeah, something like that. But no, I think it made for good radio, and I would put it in a compartment of it's just that. It's just radio. He doesn't really mean it, and it's just radio. But I really did struggle with it sometimes, and this is what guys do. Sometimes we don't always talk about it, and you and I have talked it out through the years. Maybe we should start when I realized you really are a good person. Should we do that, and then we'll work backwards?
This is a few weeks ago. Go ahead, tell the story. It's a great story.
It was just
Took 30 years.
a few days back. No, I mean, early, I'm an easy target. I understand that for a number of reasons, and like I said, I would take it really personally, and I really did think this in the early days of the ticket. Gosh, I guess Gordon just really doesn't like me, or he doesn't like the type of person I am or something. And that's fine. We can still work together, and I'll just kind of keep him at arm's length, and that's just who he is. And he likes, cutting people, and that's just the way it goes. But one of our early pranks in the ticket, we used to prank call each other. Some shows would call other shows at our little radio station in Dallas. And one particular host thought it'd be funny to have one of his friends prank call me. And it was ridiculous. It was a terrible voice, and it didn't fool me. And the first time he called me, I said, "Hey, I know you're a friend of one of our talk show hosts at the ticket. Stop doing whatever this is." Then the next night, it was the phone call. And he said all these really strange things just to get my reaction. But then he started getting my family involved. Like, "Hey, put your son on the phone. Let me talk to him." Mm-hmm. And then that, got my defense mechanism up, and I just, hung up on him. And I went to our friend and I said, "Is this you? Because if it's not, I'm going to call the police and have them, trace where this call's coming from. This is starting to creep me out a little bit." No, it's not me. And I got like 2 more phone calls. We've never talked about this on our radio station. And I guess it's okay to talk about it here.
Hell yeah. We can do whatever we want.
We do what we want.
We own this baby.
And so they broke it to me as we finished our show. And at that time, he was working on a show that was right after ours. And he said, "Hey, you need to stick around because that was me. It was a friend of mine, and we're going to play." And I just felt so betrayed, furious. And you saw me, Gordon, and how upset I was. And I found out that you went back and erased all of them. And I found that out from our program. We have never talked about this.
We have not, no.
No. And our program director told me, I said, "I don't ever want any of that played on the air. That's messing with my family. That's crossing the line. And if that's funny, my reaction to being upset that someone may be a threat to my, at the time, 7-year-old son, then I don't want to work here anymore." I mean, I was ready to leave. And he said, "It's not going to happen. You should know this, that Gordon went in the production room and erased all of it." So that was the moment that I knew, okay, Gordon's on my side. Don't take it personally. We're joking around when we're on the air. And I saw you in a totally different light after that.
Man, I never knew that you found out about that.
Yeah. We've never talked about it. I'm terrible about talking about things. I just kind of let things go. And I think guys in general are guilty of that. And we've never talked about that.
And how long ago was that?
Oh, about 30 years.
Yeah,
it was like first couple years of the station.
Yeah, I think we were doing mornings, so it was somewhere around 1996 or 97.
Wow.
Yeah, we were already on-air partners at that time. Yeah, I mean, look, prank calls can be great, funny. Yeah. We've all done them, but the way that they were doing that prank call, it made no sense to me, first of all. It was like, so this character is just designed to creep Georgie out by calling him in the middle of the night and talking about his family.
Yeah,
that's not
weird.
Cool, and it's not okay. And George is really affected by this, as he rightly should be. And that audio deserves no place in this world.
Yeah,
I don't even want it out there for, even if they just said, "Okay, fine, we won't play it on the air." I don't want that stuff being out there that you have to worry about when that shoe is going to drop, when that's going to get out.
And I'll add this to it. The next day, I came to work, and I think I apologized to both of you guys because I think I didn't stick around. We have this thing called crosstalk when you hand it off to the next show. I was so upset that day, I just left. And I came back and I apologized to you guys. And this is before I knew that you had erased everything. You said, "You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about that audio. And you're a good man." And I just went, wow. That's like one of the nicest things anyone's ever said to me after something like that. So, yeah. After that moment, I knew, Gordon is a good dude. He really is.
Well, you are a good man, Giorgio.
No.
You,
I don't know.
You are a good man. And I think that those 2 words, or 3 words, if you want to include the article, I think those are the most important words that a guy can ever hear. For whatever reason, to me, when someone says you're a good man,
Yeah.
that hits me
does.
in the heart more than any other phrase ever.
Yeah.
That's much better than someone telling you that you're a great man.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think that of you 2 guys for sure. And there was that one. And then also early in the ticket days in Dallas, when we were trying to make our way in radio, it's like the first nice thing that my wife and I ever bought for ourselves. And we bought a video camera because our kids were growing up and we were trying to, get as much on video and stop borrowing her uncle's video camera, which we had to do to get videos of our kids. And Gordo was going on a trip to New York, and he said, "Hey, can I borrow your camera?" I was like, "Oh my gosh, Gordon borrowing my camera. What's going to be on this?" and
What tape is going to be left in this camera when I get it back?
And he and his girlfriend at the time went to New York, and I gave him our camera. And Gordo came back, and he came over to the house when he returned it, and he showed me some of his trip to New York, and he said, "Hey, by the way, do you know you could do this?" He's a camera nut.
Mm-hmm.
And he found features in it that I never read in the manual when we got the thing. We were just, C kid and video kid. That's all we really cared about. Oh yeah, you can do dissolves and all this cool stuff on it. And he thanked me in a really heartfelt way of, "Thank you for letting me borrow this." And it was like the first time we had a conversation, because up until then, my only relationship with you is laughing at you 1 minute, and then the next minute I was ready to throw a notebook at you.
Right. Yeah. So this was one of the major problems. As I look back on my young adulthood, and I really don't like that guy that I see. Now, I probably don't remember good parts. Like I focus on the parts of myself that I did not like when I look back.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those things is, that I did not take the opportunity for more genuineness, like I did with the video camera. It was genuinely a nice thing you did for me. And how about giving you a genuine thank you rather than ladling shtick all over it?
And just dropping it on the floor at work
Dropping it on
and
the
saying,
floor.
"Here you go,
and
here's your stupid video
yeah,
camera."
the stupid thing doesn't work anyway. Yeah, like some of those things are good. I'm not opposed to doing the joke of dropping on the floor,
Right,
sitting
yeah.
on the floor and say
Yeah.
it was stupid. But then afterwards say, "Hey, seriously, man, thank you for that. That was very kind of you. I
Yeah.
can't afford one right now. You let me borrow it, and I'm so glad that I was able to preserve the memories of the trip that me and my girlfriend took." So, yeah, I was not genuine enough, and I think that I was not aware of how I affected people.
No, I don't think you were either. And sometimes that I still hear from time to time now, we'll tell you, "Yeah, so-and-so's a little skittish about," well, why? Well, to me, you're like a fire-breathing dragon. You walk into a room and you breathe fire, which most of it, 99% of it is hilarious and entertaining, but you may singe a few people while you're doing it.
Right.
And those people, I think, just don't want to, just like I didn't want to debate you in the early days thinking, well, I'm going to lose this. I'm going to look stupid here. I think they're intimidated by you still. I still think, but not as much as, and don't feel bad about worrying about what you did or said when you were in your 20s. You were the youngest of us. And I mean, we were 28. You were 22 or 23. Yeah. So yeah, that was the explanation. You were very young. And I wish I could take so many things back from my teens and my 20s.
Back in those early years, George, I remember your dad once famously described Gordo as pornographic.
Yeah, that was another battle that I fought.
Yet your kids loved listening to Gordo. So how did the family dynamic influence your relationship with him?
That's really good. And that was a struggle early, was the feedback that I'd get about our show was sometimes from my parents, who were totally out of the demographic. I didn't expect them to get some of the things we were talking about. But that was tough, and that was another conversation that I had with Gordon about, hey, don't worry so much about what your parents think. I remember we had that conversation in Vail, because I was really upset about it. And
he was telling you that?
Yes, and it was before they got sick, and then that took on a whole nother dynamic. But then my kids, and then I started realizing, again, seeing the value in Gordon. He could make a 35-year-old on the way to work laugh. But when my kids were at a young age, not only what they heard on the radio, because I was sometimes limited by my wife, what they would listen to, but anytime Gordon was around them, he would make a point to do something funny. And they thought he was the funniest guy, and still do think he's the funniest guy in the world. So yeah, and it helped me think, okay, what I'm doing is not pornographic. By some definition it might be, but it's providing for my family. I struggled with that. I don't know if you guys did, I don't think you did, because you didn't have little kids. I struggled with that in the early days. Are they, just as we talked about it, or dads being proud of us, are my kids going to be proud of me because, we're talking about which one would you and stuff. It's just like, I couldn't compute that in the early days.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you're talking about, and I know that struggle. Obviously I didn't have it as acutely as you did, but I had a bit of it because, my dad was a very well-known Baptist minister.
Yeah.
And I was a preacher's kid. And I think that I've always carried guilt about what I'm doing to the family name, and I was always really worried about it. Like, are my parents embarrassed by what I do on the radio? Because obviously my personality and certainly my on-air character was the fire starter, was the most envelope pushing of the three of us and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I did. So I was always worried that my parents, when this new radio station kicks off and I'm on it doing that kind of material, I was always worried that I was going to have, my dad was going to say, son, can you come in here? I'd like to talk to you.
But he never did. He handled it so well.
Never did. As a matter of fact, it's like, it's really touching to me when I think back to it, that he always was extremely proud of me and never said a negative word about what I did. I remember one time asking him, I said, Dad, I know that what I do on the radio, because he listened all the time. And you know what?
That's okay. I started like 15 seconds in.
So after he died, I'm cleaning out his study and trying to, going through their house and get everything processed and all that. And I just found bags and bags of cassette tapes.
Really?
He listened all the time, and he would always record it.
Wow.
And it's one of those deals where you don't know how long your kid's going to have the job, so you preserve everything that you possibly can.
They're going to fire him within months.
But yeah. So he, and I asked him one time, I said, I know I do this stuff on the air that is a little, it's probably a little bit not to your sensibilities and everything. And I said, are you ever, I forgot how I worded it. Are you ever ashamed of me? And he told me never to use that word around him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. I was
That's
like,
so great.
He said, I am so proud of you that you found something to do with your talent that people appreciate. And he said, and you're getting paid for it, and you're supporting people with it. And that's all I ever wanted for you, was you to find something that made you happy and that someone valued you while you were doing it.
Wow.
I remember one time we were at some event, and your dad took George and me aside and said, I just want to thank you guys for taking in my son, I think is how he phrased it. He goes, because I don't know what would have happened to him had you not.
Right, exactly.
Man, I love both of y'all's dads. Yeah, they're so sweet. And I can still hear your dad's voice, Craig, and just always so friendly and engaging. And I just thought about your dad the other day, Gordon, when I went out of my way because my son is now a college football coach, and he was in town at a camp, and I had like a 10-minute window to go see him. But I went to go see him, and I heard your dad's voice saying, because that's my son.
Yep.
That's my son.
My dad greeted me that way my whole adulthood. As soon as I came walking through his door, every time I darkened his door, he would say, my son. So proud.
Over the years, how much has your shared love of music influenced your relationship? Because I remember specifically one time on our show where, George, you were playing your first album that you made with your band, the Bird Dogs, and I specifically remember Gordon's reaction to it. You were almost moved to tears, and you told George how beautiful you thought it was and how proud you were of him. And I know you guys are much more musically inclined than I am. You all have had that bond of music over the years.
Yeah, that was really sweet. And not only that day, but I think you texted me or emailed me, and I think it was an email, and you just said about several of the songs, I cried when I heard this song, and it's just beautiful. And you probably don't realize this. I think I told you months back leading into our big charity concert, you, Gordon, inspired me to do something good with it. I don't know why I started back up with music. Gordon and I were both in bands in high schools. He was much more accomplished than I was. I was just kind of barely hanging on as a singer and a very rough guitar player. But I picked it back up in my 40s after I lost my parents, and I really found purpose for it, and that is to try to do something good with it for charitable efforts like our big concert, Jub Jam. But I got a lot of that from Gordon because you said you not only have this, but you can do something good with it, and that has always stuck with me.
Yeah, well, it's the win-win. I mean, you've got this talent. You've got a desire and a passion to play music and to write songs, to create something that before you were in the world, it wasn't in the world. This can only come from you. And that's one of the most magical gifts that God or the universe gives us, whatever anyone's spiritual beliefs are. But we are these creative forces. And what do we create while we're here on earth? And you have that ability to do that, and you did it. And it's like coupling that with the fact that you raised, how much money have you raised for the senior source in Dallas? It's
we hit 1.5 million now.
I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
Your efforts, because you're in the world, Giorgio, you raised $1.1 million for that organization that helps older people when they are getting towards the end of their life and need help, need resources, need caretaking. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Well,
so
thanks.
it's a total win-win. And yeah, when you first did that album and you saw it through, there's so many of us out there who are kind of shadow artists. We have this creative self, we have our creative selves, but we never fully put them into action because we're scared, we're self-conscious, we're very protective of the dream of doing something to the exclusion of doing the actual thing.
Yeah.
Because we want to maintain that illusion that it could be great and you never have to risk putting it into action. And so people sit on the sidelines of their own lives for forever. And you didn't when it came to music. When you started recording those albums, and when I first heard that album and heard your songwriting and specifically Thought It Was You, I remember that was the tune that really jumped out at me and was just so moving about, and still it's a great premise for a song. The opening line, standing in line at the end of the day, and it was about you hearing a voice near you, and it sounded just like your dad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and part of getting over that hump, you're going to think this may be ridiculous, but again, the Gordo intimidation factor was, I really did think, man, what's Gordon going to think of this? Because he's so particular about sound and playing ability.
Right.
I was just like, just plunking my guitar and hoping to get through a song. But you guys will also bingo and laugh at this. The guy who really got me through it was my musical idol, Randy Rogers. When I told him I was recording a record, he said, well, that's great. And can I put it out? Well, why not? Do you like it? Do you have something to play, or do you have something to say? And I said, well, I think I do. Well, then put it out. It's your song. Just like you said, Gordo, it's your creation. And he inspired, okay, I'll put it out. And yeah, we've been panned. We've, been told it sucks. And that's what we do, with.
You didn't hear that from me, because I
know
don't think it sucks.
No, did not. And it's tried to make me better about listening to music and not just totally panning something, because it is somebody's work that meant something to them and they thought they had something to say. And I've tried to be better about that, but I've been terrible about it. makes for good podcasting and radio. And you go, oh my God, do I have to hear that song again? But no, I appreciate both of you putting up with that over the years.
But yeah, we certainly bonded over music. I
Yeah.
mean, heck, we love doing musical humor,
Oh yeah.
setup, talking about DI boxes and talking about, subwoofers going out and
That was one of my favorite bits when
wedge
you
monitors.
had the entire Jones family setting up for a press conference and all of them were sound checking.
Yeah, sound check humor is
Glockenspiel.
great.
I remember being on the outside of this musical relationship that the two of you have. We were in California many years ago, and we were driving up the coast, and we were listening to the Beatles channel on satellite. And every single song that came on that drive for 5 hours, these two would debate. A song would come on, and George would say, "What do you think of this one?" And Gordon would say, "Meh." And George would say, "You're
That would
crazy.
be one of my favorites, and I think
This
he
is
knew.
one of their 10 best songs ever." And then the next song would come on, and George would say, "All right, what do you think of this one?" And Gordo would say, "I love this." And George would go, "You're crazy.
You're crazy.
This is one of their worst
Yellow
songs."
Submarine. What?
You got to appreciate it for what it is, George.
For 5 hours.
It's so funny when the three of us are all out to eat together because Giorgio and I hear every background song
Every
ever
song.
and are processing it and thinking about it. And Junior is so tuned out on background music.
Never hear it. I never hear it. And they'll start commenting, talking, having a conversation about something. Like, what are they talking? Oh, yeah, it's this song that's in
Yeah,
the
this
background.
song. I don't know why they put the Strat in the 5th position on that one. It just sounds bad. Need something.
And that's another thing about Gordon is you don't just dip your toe into something. If you're going to learn how to play guitar or learn about typewriters, you go all in. And it's an amazing, maybe it's a curse for you.
It's a curse. The hyperfixation thing.
Yes,
It's
but
part of
it's-
that ADHD deal, and it's maddening to those around me have had to learn to navigate it.
Yeah, and you'll go shooting off in another direction at the drop of a hat, but when you're focused on something, it's incredible. And I'm not just saying this, you are an incredible musician. And if you want to, I don't know if you want to, but you should do something with it. You ought to sit down, take some of your old songs and get with a couple of other players and record them.
George is inspiring me.
There we go.
Hey,
You should, because you're a much better
I'll-
player.
I
You're a
will
better
do
singer.
it. I will do it
You
on
have-
one condition:
What?
that it does not benefit charity one single bit.
Yes, making sure it just benefits you. Yeah.
Now you've piqued his interest.
That will be my sole motivation to not benefit charity.
On another one of our trips to California, this was for Cowboys training camp for our radio show, I made a challenge to the two of you because these two need to be deprogrammed. All they do is think and speak in old audio clips that have been aired on our radio station over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Old drops, old playlets, whatever it is.
You know where I can get some more. I need a fix.
How do you feel about feeding each other's addiction?
Love it.
Yes.
Love it. Enjoy the hell out of it. As a matter of fact, Giorgio and I are more in sync on that than anybody else in my life. Like,
For sure.
I
Yeah.
love knowing exactly if I say this, it's going to trigger this audio meme in his head right now. And I love reliving all old audio funny moments with him.
And I just realized something. It goes back to what we've been talking about on previous episodes when we first met each other and how we try to crack each other up. It's just a guaranteed crack up with me. I mean, those same audio clips are still funny to me now 25 years later. And I've either heard them or tried to impersonate them at least a million times.
At least a million times. But I love just digging right back into them, over analyzing the moments of Wheels Off radio that happened.
Obviously.
Yeah. It's great. It's another one of the things that is the glue of our friendship, Giorgio.
Yes.
Is the audio memes that we are so obsessed with.
And because of that, you don't want to be deprogrammed.
No.
Right?
No, don't do it yet.
No.
It does.
I love my
There
drug
are-
too much.
There are some times when I will hear things repeating in my, I wish we knew, I wish we knew, I wish we knew. And I wish I could get it out of my head, but it only lasts for, a couple of hours, and I'm fine the next day. So I'm okay. It's worth the laughs, I think. Yeah.
We touched a little bit on this in episode 3, your initial impressions of each other. That came up in our conversation there when we first all met in week 1 of working at our radio station 31 years ago. And then after a year and a half, the station being in existence, then George and I, we were moved to the morning show, and that's when Gordon joined us permanently. Go back then, do you remember what you thought of each other at the time? And Gordo, from your perspective, what was it like when you were placed with us in the morning show permanently?
Well, it was, I don't want to say it was difficult because I can't remember exactly if I felt that at the time, but I certainly was aware of the fact of these two guys have known each other for a really long time, and they have something that is so well put together. As I told you, when I would listen to you as just a listener, I was shocked at how well you guys flowed. You just had a flow with each other, a very heavy flow. And I was like, well, how am I going to fully fit into that? That seems strange. So I was a bit worried that, where am I going to fit in this mix, similar to the way you felt when there was talk of you being part of another show at first when the radio station went on the air with Two Big Personalities. So, but of course, I was young. I was, early 20s, and my approach to everything in life at that time was bull in a china shop. So I can see how that was weird and then Giorgio was married with children at that point. So he immediately is the parental figure in this situation. And I was the envelope pusher. So there's this natural tension that's already there.
Yeah. And like I said, it was pretty tense with me. And looking back, I put a lot of it on me just because I took it too personally. I was way too paranoid about what's so-and-so going to think if he hears that on the air. And we would hear it from some people we used to work with. I don't know if you guys should say that on the air. I was like, yeah, well, it's kind of funny though, right? Yeah, but I just don't know if you should. So, yeah, it was tense with me. It's like we were on this high wire act every morning, and I just didn't want to push it too much. But thank God we had you, Gordon, to do that, because I wasn't willing to do it, didn't know how to do it, and you did. And I've always said this on a couple of other episodes. You've always been our secret weapon. There is nobody like you in radio, podcasting, TV, and everyone has taken a gander at you, and TV has tried it, and had great success, but then
great success.
Yes. How many downloads does your Zach Galifianakis YouTube interview have?
Last I checked, it was over 1,000.
No, it's like 5 million or something stupid
I
like
doubt
that.
it's that high.
I think it is, but yeah, I don't even know where I was going with all that. But yeah, I was, and my view of you was I couldn't wait to be around you, but at the same time, there were times when I would go to work thinking, oh gosh, what's Gordon? How hard is he going to hit me today? And like I remember one time, I don't know why I remember this. We're at Super Bowl 30 with the Cowboys, last Super Bowl they went to. It was a long, long time ago in Phoenix. And I remember we're all going to go out somewhere after the show, and I came down to the pool area, and I had on sunglasses, and I was ready to go, and here's my friends, and we're going, and Gordon says, okay, here's Bloated Elvis. I guess we can go now. And I was like, oh, God, Bloated Elvis, really?
See, and it stayed with him all these years.
And it was funny, and I laughed at. There was part of me that laughed, and there was part of me just like, "Oh, God, he's right. I look like." And I looked in the mirror and said, "Geez, yeah, I look like Elvis late day, bloated, about to die."
He slowly took off the glasses.
Yeah. And I just fell into the pool and sank to the bottom.
Just floated face down in the pool for a while.
And floated. But no, it was fine. And again, you were 22, 23. That's what 22 and 23-year-olds do. And I was probably a little beyond my years because we started really early as parents. And yeah, I just wasn't always ready for the fraternity club of here's a baseball bat. Let me hit you in the shin real quick.
Here's some ball kicking for you. I know, and that's I'm sorry for that.
No, you don't have to apologize.
No, but
Because
I want to genuinely apologize because that's the kind of stuff that I look back on and I just go, why? Like, why? We're not on the air when I said that, right?
No.
So it's not for entertainment value on the air. So why take the risk of hurting someone's feelings by making a comment like that?
Well,
Maybe we're overanalyzing it.
No, you probably. But see, I did the same thing to you though, and before I was really sensitive to some of the things you were going through. I would like make jokes about, okay, yeah, Gordon's depressed about this chain link fence. It's not the right distance from us from the broadcast.
Yeah, you did make fun of my depression.
And I looked back at that and I went, God, what a terrible thing. So I'm sorry about that. And I think I did say that on the air and we all laughed, but I'd look back at that and go, I shouldn't have made a joke about that. And I really didn't know all the things you were going through with that. And I don't know if you want to even talk about it, but I'm very sorry that I wasn't sensitive to that. And I was very guilty of it too, because I would return fire.
Right.
I just couldn't return it with the panache that you have.
Didn't he used to play for the Mavericks?
That was Steve Nash.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So, but it's once again a case of ignorance.
Yeah.
Like you may have never dealt with depression or sensitivity to spaces that remind you of childhood things or something that made you
not until
depressed.
Later in my life, and I didn't have time for talk of depression back then. What is that?
Right. So you didn't.
20-year-olds feeling sorry for themselves. What's going on? Yeah,
and it's really
ridiculous.
hard to explain depression to anyone who's not gone through it.
Yes.
So yeah, you say and do things out of ignorance that hurt other people, and the mark of the person is, do you feel bad afterwards, and do you still do that kind of stuff? And certainly we both learn from it.
And I think all of us have found our boundaries too, over the years, to where whether it's on air or off air, we know when to stop pushing, because that's going to, it's just needless. And that's why I think we've lasted so long. We've kind of figured that out.
Yeah, we haven't had any incidents in a long, long time of you ramming Gordon's head through sheetrock or whizzing a notebook at him or something like that. Everything's really calmed down in the last 15 years.
You did whiz that notebook at me.
That was in the early days too. And
do you remember why you did that?
Yes, I remember exactly. It was early days of us reading live spots on the air, which was a panic. Still is sometimes. You're trying to get the copy just right. I think it's like the third time I've talked about this company. So I'm trying to get all the words right, and you're in the background just, jumping up and down and clapping your hands or doing something like that, going, oh, yeah, really? Oh, only 30% down, huh? Okay.
Okay. I don't know what I was doing on that.
And so I'm flubbing, looking over at you and messed up several of the copy points. And so give them a call. It's, Hot Dog Rental Company. And Mike goes off, and I just took the notebook that I had and threw it at you. It's like, shut up!
That was an assault on my person. I just was really excited to hear about the Hot Dog Rental Company.
Well, I changed the name.
Because a lot of people just buy their hot dogs.
I don't know
this
if
place
still,
had a different idea.
I don't know if this car leasing company is still in business, so I didn't want to mention who they were. But yeah.
There was the other time, though, in the production room. This is another production room incident. There was a telescoping antenna that had broken off of some little radio.
That's right.
This was really wrong.
Some portable radio. And it was at a time in our culture in which wearing cargo shorts everywhere was in style.
Yeah.
George wearing cargo shorts, so it left a big gaping hole down there by his thighs. And I thought, well, this would be a good opportunity to see how far up that thigh gape that he has there, I can get this telescoping antenna.
That is
see
assault.
if I can get the top of this antenna to tickle his ball sack.
It's almost sexual assault.
Yes, because he got pretty high.
Yeah, beautiful.
And finally had to grab his arm. What are you doing? Idiot.
I was trying to help you. I thought you had an itch.
And that's funny that your dad said that about, hey, thanks for taking Gordon aside. And, I don't know if we really did, but in some ways I did become like your parent. And
Yes.
I took the place of your mom, especially.
Yes.
That you used to just, insult. Well, you would insult your mom, but you would do bits in the back seat until you would get on her last nerve.
Right. My whole life was provoking whatever authority figure was within 10 feet of me. That's what I did. And my poor mom, it was her growing up. In school, it was my teachers. I mean, I look back now and absolutely would have hated myself, being around myself back then, if I was in a position of authority over me. I think back at my poor teachers, because some of them were really sweet people. But I just treated the whole classroom as no, this is my stage production in here, and you're playing the part of the overbearing, uptight boss in this sitcom. So
there we got our answer. How did Gordon first see me? Fresh meat. Okay,
Yes.
this is my
Exactly.
new target.
you were basically, I treated you like a substitute teacher.
I witnessed the moment where the show's dynamic almost lost 2/3 of its personnel, and that is when Gordon tried to push George into the Grand Canyon.
And
Okay, now that's clearly an
metaphorically a great
exaggeration.
story
You
because
can't be
he's always
serious.
pushing towards the edge, and we were at the Grand Canyon, and I was in front of him, and was this Super Bowl? Because there was
Super
ice,
Bowl,
there was
yeah.
ice there, so you had to be careful where you stepped. And
We were at the Super Bowl in Phoenix, and we made a field trip that Saturday before 3 hours north to go see the Grand Canyon.
and it's cold, and it's windy, and there's ice, patches of ice on the rock, and it's a lot like vacation. You get to the Grand Canyon, you kind of look at it for about 10 seconds, and you're pretty much good. And so I'm taking it in and just looking at it, and he comes up behind me, Gordon, and does that shoulder shutter push, where he and he
Push you forward and
push
then
you
grab
forward
you
and
back
grab
real
you at
quick.
the same time. And I slipped. And I just for a second I slipped, and then
And we were truly on the edge of the Grand Canyon.
Yes.
we weren't too far. And then the next thing I did was I just was able to reach my left arm around and grab him, because I did have the thought, if I'm going off this cliff, damn it, he's going with me.
See, and why is that his thought? Why is his thought that if I'm going to be murdered, I'm at least going to become a murderer before I have to
right.
face judgment?
Because that was taking our on-air battles. Okay, he may win this one initially, but
You were determined it was going to be a draw.
Yeah, and all the way down, I'd be going, ha ha, gotcha.
Can you imagine what I would have been thinking if I had watched the two of you go over the edge of the Grand Canyon?
Oh my gosh,
While,
yelling at each other
while hearing
all
the
way down.
retreating argument, Doppler effect down there.
Arguing till the last second until they just hit like Wile E. Coyote at the bottom. Oh my gosh.
All right, so where are you guys in your career arc? Because we're all in our 50s now. Gordon is in his early 50s, but George and I are in our late 50s, and
We're arcing it.
we're arcing
We're
it.
definitely arcing.
How are you guys feeling about everything? The podcast giving you extra life?
Yeah, I love this.
I do
love
too.
sitting here
It's
talking
been
with
fun.
you guys. It's so. What's great about it is we're sitting here talking, and it feels so relaxed compared to when you're doing radio. And we gotta hit this break at this time. And then
Right.
I got this live spot as soon as we hit that break, and then coming back. Don't forget we got to do this bit and everything. It's
Yeah.
a totally different feel.
Yes.
Yes, it is. And as we get older, we keep getting that question, how much longer are you going to do this? I don't really have an answer. I do know it's just the way life goes, the way careers go. And maybe this extends that to where even if we're not doing the radio show, maybe we're doing this for a long time. I could do this for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I can picture George as a retiree, playing golf, playing his guitar. I can't really picture Gordo as a retiree because I think you need the structure of the radio show and the podcast. And what would you do in retirement?
I don't know, but that's something I did not learn about myself until I don't know. I mean, much older. Like I always thought that, man, I'd love it if I just didn't have any responsibilities. That'd be so great if I didn't have to do things. And then I started noticing when we would have an extended period of time off or we'd have vacation and I wasn't doing anything. When I don't have structure, my depression starts really creeping back in. And it's just not good to not do things.
Mm-hmm.
You're in this world as a doer, not just as a thinker. Thinking is great, but what do you do with that thinking, or creating? And so, yeah, I can't imagine myself being retired either, because more than most people, I think I need other people to help me stay focused. Part of it is my brain chemistry, and so I like having a place to go to every day and doing the show with you guys in the morning. I love doing the radio show. As much as it is pressure, it still is. I never had the feeling that I took it for granted outside of maybe year 5 is when I started thinking, I really am really lucky to have this job. Really lucky. So it makes it very hard to ever leave it. And I still feel that to this day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we all struggle with that.
I can't imagine hanging up the radio job when it's still going good, when people still want to listen to us, when we have a company that still wants to pay us to do it. It would be so hard to make that decision.
Yeah.
I keep waiting for Jesus to come down and make the decision for us by coming down with his AK-47 and blowing our mics away.
There are a lot of signs out there that say that he may be about to do that. So maybe we all are getting close to the end. I also feel, and I'll reveal this, I am a grandfather, and I feel a responsibility to that generation too. And it's up to my kids to raise their kids, but I feel, I want to help them too. And I feel like as someone who's been pulling this wagon for a long time that, I need to pull the wagon a little bit more for them as well. And I don't know if that's right or wrong. It's just, something that I struggle with.
Yeah, I kind of feel that. I feel that too, in the sense of that, I know I've helped a lot of people out because I have had a job that's been so steady and good, and when people have been in need, I'm in a position to help loved ones.
Yes.
And I think quitting that job that has helped so many people just beyond me, I just don't know if I could do that. Like I said, it's a hard decision to make. Taking ownership of your choices and your life and being the author of your own life is a difficult thing for some people. Yeah. Certainly people like me. Mm-hmm. I always liked it when the decision was made for me. When the girl broke up with me because I was being such a jerk and engineered it for her to break up with me. It's like, hey, good. At least it's on her. It's her responsibility. She broke up.
Again, next level thinking. I never would have thought of that. I was just glad a girl was talking to me.
What's entered the mix for me in the last couple of years is I've always thought about retirement, as we talked about in episode 1. I now have this weird need to have my daughter, who is 3, know at some point in her life that I worked.
Right.
I don't want her to always think that Dad just rode his bike
Right.
and, played video chess and was hanging around the house. It's like there's a weird desire for me to know that she was experiencing Daddy going to work.
Yeah.
And she knows that now. She says it, but I don't know that
she may not remember it.
Yeah. You don't really remember that. When I was 5 and 6, I remember my dad going to work.
Yeah.
Isn't that something that as kids we worry about what our parents are going to think of us, and then when we're parents we worry about what our kids are going to think of us?
Yeah.
I want them to have the right impression here that I'm really
right.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And there's something good to what Junior's saying, like if she does have a memory of you going to work. Like I think back and I didn't appreciate how hard my father worked when I was certainly when I was a teenager. I didn't appreciate it. But now when I look back on that, I really have gained such an appreciation looking back at what he did, what a man, and this is the way it was back then because my mom was a stay-at-home mom, what he gave of his life in order for us to have one, as well as what my mom gave up in order for us to have a good life. Mm-hmm. But yeah, just seeing my dad go to work every day has been in my memory. Now I have to watch it because he's not around anymore.
Well, and that's valuable for your daughter too.
That's right.
To learn those. Okay, this is what you do to make it in this world. You have to do something.
Peter, I want you to write this down. I think a great episode would be us talking about our parents.
Oh yeah.
I would love to do that.
Okay, but we'll have a no crying rule.
Well, that's going to be
We'll
hard.
We'll be
but-
all
It'll
be
be hard.
tough guys, alpha males that have no
No
feelings.
crying.
No crying.
And I knew this would be a great episode because of our relationships. For George and I in the beginning, the relationship was very easy. And for Gordon and I in the beginning, our relationship was always very easy. I really clicked immediately with both of you guys.
Yeah.
But I know that the two of you have had a much more complicated relationship. And that's why I thought this episode was going to be really entertaining. And it's been great.
It has been complicated, but I love you guys and I love this dude. And yeah, I'll ride with him till they say we can't ride together anymore.
Until Jesus blows us up from behind the steering wheel.
All right, that does it for episode 4. Hopefully you've learned a lot these first 4 episodes about the three of us, and we hope you'll stay with us on this podcast journey. Thanks to our producer, Peter Welpton.
Thank you, Peter.
Thanks to you for listening, and we look forward to episode 5 of The Musers, the podcast.
Peace.
New episodes of The Musers, the podcast, happen every Wednesday, so make sure you follow or subscribe wherever you listen. We love to hear from the P1s, so please reach out to us across any of the social media platforms, or how about just an old-fashioned email, themuserspod@gmail.com. The Musers, the podcast is a Tired Head production.